entertainmentbuddha.com.
Hey now everyone, welcome back to the newest, the bluest, the truest episode of Star Wars Time. That's right, your favorite amateur podcast that no one else listens to but the two hosts and a bunch of their friends. It's Matt and Nick. Yay! Guess what? We're going to continue our discussion on Solo, because if you listen to the last episode, which I believe was 198, so this will make 199, which means Nick and I are almost on episode 200, which, quite frankly, I believe at least the last 100 were probably only Star Wars episodes. So, again, applaud us. Okay, hold on, let them applaud. Let it come out. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Yes, cheers. We love you. Peace. Go ahead. I actually think it was right at TFA, because I believe I convinced you to just come on and have like a roundtable discussion about the movie. Because that's when I still had like a staff that was pretty gung-ho and going, and some of them have graduated to bigger sites, which is awesome. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I mean, Entertainment Buddha, we're like the farm system for the big leagues. But yeah, I mean, so Nick and I have been spitting our Star Wars games since TFA, and it, started off, I think we were lucky to do it twice a month, and now we're at least once a week, and you never know, it could increase. We could do more shows. We've talked about it. We just got to start doing it, but we're here, and we're back again to talk about our friend Han Solo, which, if you've listened to this cast and you've followed us, I think you understand that he at least wasn't one of my favorite characters, but now after seeing Ron Howard's Solo Star Wars story, he has become someone I'm much more interested in, and I want to see more movies. But as Nick and I were talking during our kind of love fest recap, and I'm gonna say that because we both did enjoy Solo, but as we talked, it didn't have a great opening weekend, right, Nick?
It wasn't the best out of the new Star Wars films, that's for sure. In fact, it was the worst opening weekend. But there's a lot of factors at play here. One, we talked about it a little bit on the previous cast, the troll factor. There's a lot of people out there for some reason who are Star Wars fans and they hate Star Wars. I don't get it. Like
I even have a hard time calling them fans at this point. And I know I'm a big advocate of opinions, and hey, you can have them, but it's just, if you honestly read the arguments that a lot of these people have, it's Trumpism to the nines.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just like so bigoted. It's like, come on, I can't even buy into that.
Yeah, I had a conversation on, of course it's on social media with
Nick basically trolled his Facebook account.
Yeah, I mean, one of my
and the sad thing is, we could
friends,
say you trolled it by giving your honest opinion, because that's what society has come to. Like, Nick, to some of his friends, essentially on Facebook this week, was being a troll.
Yeah, I was the one who was saying that I liked Solo, and people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you like that dreg," and I was like, "Whoa, dude, like, what are you talking about?" I'm just trying to like break it down to these people, like.
Right, but to him, you were trolling this person.
Yeah, it's
like, you literally
crazy.
Triggered this man, because Nick actually dialed me in. He's like, dude, you got to check this conversation out. So, being a follower of Nick on Facebook, I checked it out, and I'm just like, yeah, that's what I'm running into on Instagram. I mean, at Haywood Pop on Instagram, if you like toy photography, check me out. But even that community, it's just getting to the point in the stories where there are some accounts that I love and I respect and I look up to, and I've considered blocking or unfollowing just because of the shit they're putting in their stories about Star Wars But to me, it relates so much to this new brazen attitude of Americans based on our leader.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of arguments out there that,
dude, it's all. I mean, to me, it's either about people of color or women or this, that, or the other. I mean, that's what they seem to be mad about.
Dude, that's like this guy I was talking to hit on all of those, factors.
Like,
and I tried to tell him,
it's
like,
2018, people.
Yeah.
It's not 1800.
I mean, one of the big things he had was, of course, I mean, everybody had some issues with episode 8. A lot of people out there did. And he was like, well, they emasculated Luke and all this shit. And now they're for some reason, Disney has decided that they want to raise up
women. How they emasculate Luke?
That's what I told him.
Just because he chose to not go to war. I mean, how does that make him a pussy?
Yeah, I don't get it. And he brought up.
I mean, I get your argument more like you didn't feel it was true to his character. Okay,
yeah,
I'll hear it out. I'll disagree, and I'll agree on some of it. But I'm not going to agree that Luke was turned into a pussy boy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So
he projected himself across the galaxy to the point where he died. I mean, that to me does not even make sense for the definition of a pussy.
Yeah, so I mean, these are the type of people that we're trying to cut through, and and then eventually we're hoping that people finally see that this movie isn't just some craziness, or it's not what these idiots are saying out there on the internet, that it's an actual good film. And I mean, if we're talking about box office here, like I said, this isn't the highest box office that Star Wars has seen, but it still ended up grossing over the Memorial Day weekend a worldwide gross of $168 million. I mean, it's not earth-shattering.
With over 100 of that coming from the U.S.
Yeah, $103 million domestic. So,
but I believe Deadpool 2 took in $200 million.
It was
on a 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
Memorial Day is a whole different beast, and I don't think that's been a point that's been hammered home for some people, is that Memorial Day weekend is actually considered a weak weekend to launch a movie.
Yeah, I mean,
it's notoriously known. Did any other movies open last weekend?
No.
To be honest with you.
I mean, nothing of note for
sure. I mean, I don't think anything that would release, say, in an AMC opened last weekend outside of Solo.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, basically, people look at a 3-day weekend and are like, oh, it had 3 full days of people off of work to drag in a big box office. But what they don't realize is, like, people travel during Memorial Day. People are out. It's summertime during the weekend.
They're
people
trying to be outside, especially up in my parts where this is new to us. Like, assholes like Nick, I mean, this is just another fucking Friday.
Yeah, I mean, down in Texas,
he's probably sitting there bitching that, like, fuck, it's hot again. Fuck this. My car's a fucking 100 degrees. I hate it.
I mean, that's 100%
people like
accurate.
me are like, thank God it's finally to the point where I can turn my air conditioning on. Like, I can walk outside and not die.
Yeah, for us in Texas, it's like, this was just another scorching hot weekend. So
yeah, Nick just knows the triple degrees are basically going to be weekly things at this point in time.
100%. But everywhere else, I mean, you have people traveling, you have people that are outside barbecuing, spending time with friends and family.
They just want to be with people. Actually, these are one of the few weekends left in American culture, Labor Day, Memorial Day, where humans are still willing to kind of go out. Even someone like me, because I'm pretty sure I've probably said this on this podcast, but I am not a big fan of humanity.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned
it. Not really. Yeah, not really. But even those weekends for me, like, I kind of want to go out and hang out with either friends or family, and that's what happens for a lot of Americans. So they're not great weekends to launch a blockbuster.
Yeah, and, a couple of other things to keep in mind as well is, a lot of things, there's a lot of different factors that go into Solo's performance here, and we're going to talk a little bit about them during the cast, but, I mean, a couple of them are, a Star Wars movie just came out of theaters recently.
I honestly, I think that's number one. I mean, number one, it's 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
A, too close. And it just shown in the promotions, right? I mean, we were bitching about where is it? Where are we getting trailers? I mean, it's fucking February. What the fuck? And they actually came out and said, yeah, we tempered the promotions for Solo because we just hammered you assholes with all the trailers for TLJ.
Yeah.
So that's A. I mean, and I've said this 1,000 times on this cast when Nick and I are speculating about what the fuck's going on with Solo. I mean, director's leaving, this happening, Alden can't act, yada, yada, yada. I've always been screaming for, why are you not pushing it to December?
Yeah, I think both of us
especially, okay, I could buy, like, well, you know, because we're doing episode 9 in May, and we don't want to cram that up. But after they announced that shit was delayed this December, why not just take the liberty to be like, hey, fuck it. We now have a year buffer. We know it's going to be a year minimum. Why not move Solo to fucking December 18 versus May?
Yeah.
And I think that bit them in the ass in the end because of the backlash, which is 1B of my original point, of the Last Jedi. And, you know, even my co-host here wasn't a huge fan. He's not in the psycho group. He's not in the group that's going out there doing the SJW fucking feminism, socialistic fucking Luke is a woman now bullshit. But TLJ was definitely divisive, if anything else. I mean, even if it has one of the higher ratings on Rotten Tomatoes compared to the other movies, I mean, just Nick's interpretation versus mine alone, and we are both junky fucks. Like, if you could buy Star Wars in a syringe, we would be shooting it right now.
Yeah, 100%. So...
And we didn't agree on the movie. So that just goes to show you what TLJ did in terms of fracturing the Star Wars verse.
There was a perfect opportunity, like you said. As soon as Episode 9 gets pushed back, you have that full year.
Especially because you hadn't fucking released anything. No posters, no trailers, nothing.
Yeah, and it gives you... I mean, I know that they probably wouldn't have gone back and done any sort of, you know, reshoots or anything like that. The movie was wrapped.
But more time is more time, and in Hollywood, time is money, and money is gold. I mean, time to a director and an editor is more than making millions of dollars. Like, Ron Howard probably would have said, I'll give you a few million back if I could have another 3 months.
Yeah, and there were not a lot of things in this movie that we felt, you know, deserved to have it redone or needed to be reworked. I mean, there were a couple of scenes.
We also don't know what was all reshot, but in terms of last week's cast, it was essentially our tops and our flops, and we reserved our flops for about the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, there were many more tops than there were flops.
We spent an hour 30 talking about all the shit we liked, and the last 5 talking about the 1 or 2 things we thought were a little bit wonky.
Yeah, so, I mean... any amount of time would have been better for Ron, for the editors, for anybody, even for, you know, the promotional machine to kick back up. Like you said, Disney didn't want to pound us in with, you know, we just got off the TLJ train, now here's Solo, take it down the throat. Like, if you would have moved it to December, you had a fallow period of probably 3 to 5 months where you could just chill, and then you come back hard, you know, in, you know, October, November, hit you with the Solo stuff. And then you're back on your December 1 year track again for Episode 9. And then you also have that distance. So it's definitely curious why they didn't decide to move it. I don't know if there was some sort of contractual thing that happened or if you know, fucking Bob Iger was just like...
It makes no sense because Disney's only really other... I believe big drop this year is Ant-Man Wasp, which is what, June?
Yeah,
July?
It's not even close to a you know, a holiday release.
I mean, when's are they in Disney's Wreck-It Ralph, right? So I mean,
yeah.
But even still, I believe that's going to be a summer movie.
Yeah, so I mean, even
it never made sense to me. I mean, in the end, I'm glad it came because we got to see what I consider and Nick considers to be a really great, entertaining Star Wars movie, but. Proof is in the pudding. It definitely underperformed based on Disney's projections, and there is a clear movement to blackball it. I mean, I've seen more articles coming out like, people, let's get real. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, why is all the hate around this movie? Because I've seen on my networks, Nick's been challenged on his networks, and there's a very clear faction that just have an unimaginable amount of hate for this movie, and nearly all of them haven't watched it for themselves yet.
Yeah.
They're just basing it on their anger with Disney, their anger with women, their anger with people of color, whatever, their anger with, I don't know. I don't understand it at this point. But for some reason, they're willing to just sacrifice something they supposedly love based on either the opinions of others or a false reality they've created in their own head. But at least in this country, it's really, that's become normal, and that's the scary thing, is like there's a large faction of people here that no longer truly believe in facts outside of, as long as they believe something is true in their mind, then it's true.
Yeah, there's definitely a
crazy.
movement, an odd movement that's happening in the country right now, and it's being reflected in, oddly enough, again, box offices for movies.
That's my
mean,
point. Like,
crazy.
I hate getting political here, but in the end, they do mirror each other.
Yeah.
Like, there is a clear distinction between this faction of Star Wars fans and some of the people in the country supporting, great leader here. It's weird. It's just like it's their way or the highway. Like, if the narrative doesn't fit what's in their head or what they think it should be, then fuck you.
Yeah, it's pretty
die.
bad.
Like, it's not just fuck you. It's fuck you. You're wrong. I hope you die, and I hope everything about this dies. I'm gonna make it my life's mission to kill it.
Yeah, I really just don't understand it. And, I think a lot of the people that are associated with the movie, too, they're kind of confused by it. I mean, I know that John Kasdan put out a tweet a couple of days ago, when all the news started to come out around, underperformance and stuff like that.
I feel bad for all these motherfuckers because I think they're getting burned very unfairly. I mean, you could blame a lot on the media and even assholes like us for blasting those stories that we still don't know if they are true about Alden is an idiot and can't act, but I mean, you got to feel bad for these people.
Yeah, I mean, these guys put months, years worth of work in, and I mean, so here's the tweet that I liked from Kazan. He says, "Look, fell short of expectations isn't what anyone hopes to hear in the bedroom or at the box office, but mostly I'm just thrilled by the reaction." So, there's a lot of positive reaction out there for this film. I mean, if you cut through, like you said, if you cut through the bullshit, if you get off the sewers and get out of Reddit, then, like, a majority of people seem to enjoy this film.
At this point in time, it's Reddit, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's Twitter. It's you can't escape the hate shouts anymore.
Yeah, it's
there's nowhere safe anymore. I mean, as Nick said, Reddit used to be the safe haven for the fucking nut jobs, but they're everywhere now. I mean, everyone's fucking emboldened.
Yeah.
Like, let it rip. I mean, fuck it, let it rip.
So, I mean, the good thing is, he goes on in that tweet to say, and he says, and if you want more underworld stories, keep asking Disney and Lucasfilm for them. Believe it or not, they listen. So he hasn't given up on the idea of continuation. I mean, maybe not a direct continuation for Solo, but at least continuing the style of film, these Star Wars stories that aren't, completely focused on, galactic conflicts in this Jedi versus Sith battle that's constantly going on, focusing on the underworld stories with characters like Han Solo, Lando, maybe Boba Fett is something that we've been hearing a lot about recently. Characters like that are still viable in this universe, and it's, as long as nut jobs don't start to, really go crazy here about Star Wars films, and I think there's a good chance that we may get some continuation of the underworld, quote unquote trilogy from Star Wars. And if the box office has anything to say about it too, I mean, like we were saying, kind of a soft opening at $103 million domestic through Monday, but I mean, from Tuesday to Thursday, this is the total domestic box office as of the 31st, which is Thursdays. We're at almost $120 million. So, I mean, you made $17 million in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's not bad.
And Nick and I talked offline. I mean, to me, I think that's somewhat impressive because those aren't typical movie-going days, even for what we consider summer days at this point. I mean, there are, at least in my state, I mean, most high schools have been out of class since last week, so that could be contributing to the uptick. But it is, and it's, as Nick and I were talking in our recap of the movie last week, it's a bummer because I do believe a lot of the narratives told in Solo were told with the distinct purpose of being expanded upon and eventually paid off on some of them in additional movies. And there have been quotes from the Kazdans that have said, essentially, we have already written a 3-film arc.
Yeah, they had it done. And basically,
Alden let slip, I'm under contract for 2 more movies. Ron Howard said more Solos really depend on the reception of Solo.
Yeah.
So there's no denying that Disney and Lucasfilm had plans to continue this. And as Nick and I were kind of lamenting last weekend, these numbers could very well derail some of those plans, and that bums me out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it really does come down to the box office numbers at the end of the day, but I do think that
well,
Disney
I guess
has
my
made
question
some
is,
room.
dude, with the Star Wars franchise, in the end, you'd have to be a fool to just be like, oh yeah, Star Wars is losing its shine. It's not gonna make money. I mean,
No.
this movie, even if it costs $250, it's probably still gonna make 500, 600 worst case scenario.
Yeah,
right?
I imagine so.
I
that
mean,
it's gonna break
I'd
the
say
500.
400 worst case. It's probably gonna double its investment, I would imagine.
Yeah, I really think that it will hit the 500 mark.
So what do you think worries Disney more? Just the poor reception in terms of the critical and the fan response, or the dollars?
I don't think it's the dollars now. I don't think it's the dollars.
I think I think with another franchise it would probably be the money, but I think with Star Wars, I think the bigger problem is like, we kind of thought this was a fucking golden egg laying motherfucker.
Yeah. And,
what did we do? What did we do?
You have legitimate news sites out there, especially in the geekosphere, like Nerdist. I mean, you have the Verge and stuff like that are writing these articles like, is Star Wars fatigue setting in? And, is it time to reel in how often they get pumped out?
I don't believe in that because the MCU has been able to spit out movies every 5-6 months.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. Of course, people love Star Wars, and people are going to love Star Wars until the day that Disney stops making them. But I really do think that a $1.5 billion average box office is unsustainable. I mean, we looked at it with TLJ, and it just crossed the billion. I think it got to 1.2 billion. You look at Rogue One, which was the first anthology film, it barely crossed the $1 billion mark. So I mean, I think that there was definitely
we've
high
said it before, man.
expectations
I mean, as much as we want to just gush over TFA had advantages over any other Disney Star Wars movie that's ever going to be released.
Oh yeah, I mean, it
was the first.
It
was the return to, hey, guess what? You fuckers, you sad motherfuckers, especially you prequel haters, you thought your shit was truly over and you're going to have to live with that disaster. It's coming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the end, TFA is always going to be the champion.
Yeah. So
nothing's going to rival what TFA did.
I really think that I think that both the Kazdans and Ron may push to get a sequel made. At least one, because I really do think that
I'm with you.
If you
got to
push
do
through
one,
yeah,
or you have to incorporate the characters into Boba or Obi.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, if you don't go with a full Solo trilogy, then you make like a soft trilogy. That's your best next step. Is like, Boba Fett is definitely involved with Han Solo in a big way, even pre-ESB when he first comes in. So like, you can show those stories, like both of them interacting.
Let Boba be the titular character, but let Han and Chewie still not just be cameo characters.
Yeah, I mean they
like
could
let them have a fleshed out role in the movie.
Yeah, I mean especially if we're talking about interacting with Jabba the Hutt that was mentioned at the end of Solo. I mean, Boba Fett's definitely working within that same sphere. We know that from, Return of the Jedi alone.
Yeah, he's already, at this point, just based on Clone Wars.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's already there. So if we're going to move into
testicle.
that... Yeah,
oh,
if we're gonna...
shit, man. I haven't done that in a long time. Oh, my God. I just punched my own balls. I can't breathe. What the fuck?
Matt's got something to work out there. But like we were saying, if we could, you could just continue it with Boba and then bring it in to Obi as well. I mean, Obi, if we're gonna get a standalone movie, is probably gonna have some timeline jumps. It's very easy.
He's
to
gonna
work
be on fucking Tatooine at that time.
Yeah.
I mean,
so when you have a meeting of these, scoundrels and bounty hunters and stuff like that on this planet, it's going to be hard for a Jedi who's, especially a Jedi who's fresh off the job to we're
essentially transitioning into our final topic, or our next topic, but it was really the only one we had, and it was Nick and I are going to kind of speculate and wish for what could be or what may be if we do get some Solo sequels, and we're already in the thick of it, so let's just run with it with this concept of what we know is that the end of Solo is technically approximately around 7 years before New Hope. Again, spoilers for Solo, spoilers. Anyways, it ends with Han and Chewie headed to Tatooine to go meet a big gangster that's got a big job, and we clearly know that's going to be Jabba.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be Jabba. There's nobody else.
Let's say things turn around for Solo. It picks up some steam. It gets word of mouth. Bob Iger's like, well, fuck. We did it. Took a while, but we did it. Greenlight those bitches. What do you see for Solo 2 in terms of just Han and Chewie? Like, what are we going to see?
I think that we can kind of put aside the life-death thing now. Like, we're not going to see it. I don't think we're going to see it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about even their relationship. I'm just talking, where are these characters going to go in Episode 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first stop that they're going to make on the brand new acquired Falcon is probably going to be Tatooine. I mean, that, like you said, the movie ended with them saying that and then kind of jumping to hyperspace. So they end up on Tatooine, kind of a backwater planet. Maybe they drop into Mos Eisley to start and then move out, and then from there, it's kind of up in the air. I don't think that they're gonna get the job, that Jabba talks about with the shipment that Han drops in Episode 4. I think that's later down the road. So this is probably the intro job, maybe another kind of competing faction type of job that we saw happen in Solo, where you have Beckett's crew that's trying to get this coaxium for Dryden Voss, but then there's probably also going to be another faction in there that's trying to do the same job as Han and Chewie, and it's
Boba Fett.
Yeah, Boba Fett. There you go. And
Bosk, IG.
There's a lot of
Zuckuss.
There's a lot of these underworld bounty hunter types that are linked to Boba Fett. I mean, not to Boba Fett, but to Jabba the Hutt. So I mean, to bring in these characters, these recognizable faces into the world, this would be a perfect opportunity to do it.
And I still think that there's a lot of value in showing a young Han and Boba Fett interaction, because that sequence in Jedi where Chewie is warning Han that Boba Fett just showed up, and the reaction Han has, and I know some of it's probably because he's blind and it's frantic anyways, but he's literally like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that this motherfucker's here. Fuck.
Yeah, and it's definitely not because of like the one, brief interaction that they had on on Bespin and in ESB. So I mean, there's history there, and I think that it's even canon.
I don't even think they even talk to each other.
No, Boba Fett was standing there, and that was
just standing there. Like Vader did all the dirty work.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's definitely not their only interaction. So I mean, there's been hits put out on Han in the past, pre-original trilogy that Boba Fett's been hired to do, and he's never been able to get them. And I think even at one point, I don't remember if it was new canon or old canon, like Boba came out, I think it was, actually now that I think about it, it was old canon. Like Boba actually came out and said to Han, look, he's like, hey man, it was never a personal thing between me and you. It was just, people want you dead and I'm good at killing people. But apparently I'm just not good at killing you.
If you watch the Clone Wars, like young Boba definitely has a moment where he tries to exact revenge on Mace and some Jedi, but even though he's being reared by Aurra Sing and the bounty hunter elite from Star Wars like Bosk and IG and so on and so forth, you can see that he almost has some of like the Rex clone or the Fives clone in him, where there is some good to Boba.
Yeah.
Like he is purely a bounty hunter. Like he's in it for the money. He doesn't hate you. He just wants the contract.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably what I'm looking for.
Dude, I'm dead on with you. If we are to get a Solo 2, I think it's Han building his reputation as a scoundrel and a smuggler via Jabba.
Yeah.
And I could see if there was even a Solo 3, that's where we get the payoff. That's literally like almost the direct lead into Episode 4. Like the big end event, or even the middle, is Han having to dump that spice shipment because of an Imperial boarding party.
Yeah, and and
then the last act is we just get to see him essentially running for his life, which will pay off on a line Beckett literally tells him in Solo 1, like, dude, have you ever had a price on your head? It is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, and
that's the life Han literally inherits eventually.
And that would
not even. We learn at this point, not even 7 years after having that conversation.
Yeah, so he comes up within the underworld pretty quickly. I mean, 7 years. I mean, it's a lot of time.
Not even, dude. I mean, honestly, if we get Solo 2, it could be a month. It could be a week after Solo 1.
Yeah, I mean, all he's got to do is pull off one big job, and then his name is known everywhere.
Right, because Beckett's dead, and Han's just gonna walk in there like, oh hey. I'm Beckett's buddy. He told me about this. He ain't coming. He retired. Give me the job instead.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's Han.
Yeah, he's not going to say, like, hey, I killed him or anything like that. He's just going to ride those coattails. He's not
going to let Jabba know Beckett's dead. He's going to be like, hey, he sent me here instead. He's done. He's out of the game.
Yeah, he's going to ride the coattails until he makes a name of his own. And then, like you were saying with that, if a third Solo movie does happen where we do get the payoff on the the drop shipment and everything like that, we now have a double lead in to Episode 4. You have the lead in from Rogue One, and then you have the lead in from the Solo trilogy if it were to happen.
You'll know why Greedo's in there with a fucking gun to his face.
Yeah, there's a lot of backstory to fill in with this character, and we've only really scratched the surface with this first film. So I mean, yeah, it's had a tepid response, but I think at this point Disney has made enough money to where they could just say like, hey, there's stories to be told here. We have an award-winning director on board.
Come on.
Let's go.
They can eat this. They can eat this 10 times over at this point.
Yeah, I mean, just from the box office of TFA and TLJ alone, like
I mean, I just guess from my perspective, it saddens me that this is happening. That this movie is, in my opinion, is just getting shit on and boycotted because of whatever belief someone had over the last Skywalker centric movie.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely disconnected films, so it's not like
It's totally getting fucked in the butt.
Yeah, it's. I never thought we were going to be at a point to where we have to wonder, like, man, are they going to make more of these? Or are they going to make more of these Star Wars films?
You and I are essentially apologizing for this movie, and 3 months ago, we were essentially questioning its validity.
Yeah. I mean, we were at the point to where,
like, anyone listening, if you're new or if you're an existing fan, hopefully you understand that we're not just two fucking homers here. This is a genuine reaction to what I consider to be an entertaining summer movie. I mean, is it going to win Oscars? Absolutely not. It's just a fun movie. It's a fun Star Wars movie. It feels like a Star Wars movie. It adds to the Star Wars universe. I don't see how that's wrong or that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And trust me, I was someone that, like I said, not even 3 months ago going, I think Alden looks like a fucking dope.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't
sounds
look like
a
him, he
fucking
sound like
dope. I mean, I literally, is maybe 2 months ago, I'm like, shit, man, this dude sounds like a fucking toolbox.
Yeah,
and in the end, he's probably my favorite dude in the movie.
I was one of the ones on the podcast. I was like, I don't think this is gonna make $1 billion. I mean, like, that was our low point at the time. That was like,
oh yeah,
us shitting on it.
And in the end, you nailed it.
Yeah,
it ain't.
I mean, it ain't gonna make $1 billion. I mean, I was estimating $750 million. I was like, it might make $750 million if it's lucky.
I think at this point, 500.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing the response, I mean, I'm crossing my fingers over here because I really do want to see these other movies get made. Especially,
it's a good movie, and that's the thing, people. If you hated The Last Jedi, fine, hate it. Keep that hate flowing through you, you Sith. I feel you. I too resonate with the Sith. But just go see it, man. Spend the fucking $10, $15 if you go to a nice theater. Just go see it. And then if you still hate it, fine. But I have a hard time with people forming such strong opinions over something they haven't experienced. And that's in any art form. That's music, painting, comic books, movies, obviously, video games. I mean, video games, I can sometimes get the argument to where, yeah, you really do want a critic's opinion, because do I want to go spend $60 on a fucking entertainment thing and hate it? Yeah. All right, but a movie, I mean, come on, $10, $15? Yeah,
I mean, if nothing else, go with a friend and just, sit down, watch it together, and have something to talk about. It's not like you're dropping $100 on this or anything like that. And like you said, dude, it's coming from people who haven't seen it, which is really getting to me, because, like, the guy that I went back and forth with on my Facebook hadn't seen it. And I was just telling him, like, if you go see this movie, then maybe, he's just talking about, like, the women thing and all this other shit. I'm like, if you go see it, then maybe, you'll be pleasantly surprised at the very least.
Women, I mean, there's hardly any women in the movie. I mean, Kira's ultimately secondary.
Yeah, I mean, the primary cast of this movie is Han.
It's fucking Han and Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I mean, Han and Chewbacca are the clear screen time winners of this movie.
Yeah, by far. And it's not
as they should be.
And for the people out there that think that Disney is emasculating Star Wars, I mean, like, Chewbacca literally pile drives somebody on their head, and, like, Han is, is cool.
I mean, Chewbacca almost kills Han.
Yeah, I mean, like, the movie itself and all of the characters in it are displayed excellently. I mean, male, female, robot, it doesn't matter. Alien, like, they're all well portrayed, and it's not like they're particularly targeting any one gender or type of character to shit on. Like, it's just where this notion came from is beyond me.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, so, I mean, just if you have a movie pass, too, like, you don't have any excuse. Like, you've already paid your $10 for the month. I mean, it's free at that point. Just go see it.
Right, and in the end, if you honestly hate it as much as you think you're gonna hate it, just get up and walk out. It ain't. I mean, no one's holding a gun to your head to see it, and that's my point. It's just like, How can you have such strong opinions about something without experiencing it?
Yeah.
That applies to anything in life. Anything that is opinion based. How can you form one and have such conviction behind it without experiencing it?
Yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, I mean, we're now in a period of time where we're a year and a half out from anything Star Wars related. I mean, 2018 is going to come to an end.
We're in the
December.
grind now, man. We're back to the old days of fuck.
Yeah, I mean, we really have to sit this out.
I mean, 9's not even going to start shooting until mid-July.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a long time before we even start getting news, rumors. I mean, set photos you can just throw out the window, I would imagine. I mean, we're going to be in a very kind of fallow period here. And then, when 2019 rolls around, you're going to have to wait all the way till December to get the wrap-up of Skywalker. And then, hopefully, fingers crossed, early 2019 is when we get, Jon Favreau's new live-action Star Wars with the drop of the Disney streaming service.
Communist!
I mean, I guess the one thing that we do have coming, though, this year is the start of Resistance, right? I mean, that's going to be on Disney Channel and Disney
Feminism!
XD. Just soon enough, they're going to be complaining that robots have too much screen time when they're given, why are the robots portrayed so positively in comparison to the humans? Like,
slavery.
What is happening? But, yeah, so, I mean, I'm kind of, I'm upset at people because of their idiocy just in general. I mean, everybody that I've talked to...
It's tough because in the end, you don't want to ruin it too much for yourself because I did like the movie. I know you like the movie. But it's a bummer sometimes to just see some of the stuff. And like I said, if you really went and saw it and you can sit there and just rattle off why you didn't like it, great. I'll high-five you and be like, hey, man, I get it. I'm not going to try to convince you to like it. And that's not ever my goal when it comes to any type of entertainment. I mean, the only thing I will fight you on is that country music is just not good.
Yeah.
It's one of the only forms of music that is just, to me, it's intolerable. It's awful.
Yeah.
But most other art forms, like, hey, whatever you want. And even country music. Like, if you want to listen to it, have fun. But don't even try to tell me it's good.
Here's something else, too. Just to, like, try to convince people to go see this movie that go, that are in the geekosphere and are kind of up in the air. Like, if you're a fan of Firefly, the old TV series, this movie is about as close as you're going to get to a second Firefly movie. Like, this...
See, dude, I still think there's enough of the nuts out there that even deep down, if they like it, they'll still never admit to liking it.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they don't want to seem stupid for acting like an idiot.
Because they've probably already gone on the internet so many times.
No, exactly. That's what I mean.
Like,
they don't want to go back on their words.
Yeah. So, if they come back and say, like, oh, I saw it and it was actually pretty dope, like, then they look like fucking morons. I mean, they are morons because they're judging something that they haven't seen outside of a couple of trailers, but, like, come on, people. Like, this is a unique time in history. I mean, we've not only resurrected a franchise, one of the most popular franchises in movie history, from the dead. It's being bankrolled, funded, and created by some of the best, movie minds in the history of cinema. I mean, so if you don't appreciate it now, you're really going to run out of time.
Except for the Star Wars Story Group, because I still can't figure out why they exist.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there, but I mean, when you have people like Ron Howard, J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, I mean, even Gareth Edwards, he doesn't have the resume that these other guys do, but like these people are fantastic filmmakers, and they're going to go on. I mean, Ryan is still young, Gareth is still young. They're going to go on to have excellent careers. I mean,
we had a post this week on the Entertainment Buddha Facebook page over. I shared the Schmoyo guys that do a lot of songify the news and this, that, the other bits. They made Sand a Star Wars story, and they essentially songified the horrible dialogue from Attack of the Clones between Anakin and Padme on Naboo.
Oh my God!
And the title was just like, hey, this video is perfect at showcasing the awfulness that is Attack of the Clones. And there's literally 2 guys that commented, like, fuck, The Last Jedi is fucking trash garbage, fuck. And the other one was like, Disney, eat a dick, fuck.
It's like,
oh my god.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, people. It's not like, you know.
The people trying to tell me the prequels are good, I gotta laugh at them. Like, man, you're either fucking post 1995 birth, or I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. I don't. Anyone that tells me is many arguments, valid arguments that you can make about The Last Jedi, that tells me that is a worse movie than any of the 3 prequels, I'm just like, dude. I mean, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, it's not a intelligent opinion in my thought, but
like I said, I mean, if you were fucking 4 when Phantom came out, and then 7, and then 10, sure, I'll give it to you. Love those prequels. You really didn't know any better. You just didn't. You didn't. Your brain wasn't fully formed yet. You didn't know. I get that 100%. But even then, at this point, you're probably an adult, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 95 would do some math for me.
95 would be 23.
They're drinking at this point,
yeah,
easily.
23 years old. So you can make better decisions then.
So, I mean, honestly, sit down and really reflect on it. And unless you are a truly racist, bigoted person, how can you say a movie like The Last Jedi, as much as Nick hated it, he wouldn't even go to these lengths? How can you say that is worse than any of the 3 prequels?
Yeah, it's hard to think about. Here's the one thing that I've heard so far, and it's from the same guy that I had a conversation with about Solo. Is like, what he liked about the prequels is that there was a bunch of Jedi swinging lightsabers around, hacking things up, and there was no, he says there was no political nonsense in it. And I was like, did you watch these movies at all?
The whole fucking movie was politics.
Yeah, the entire thing was
about
politics.
The Trade Federation, and then the whole goddamn thing, the whole hinge was on the fucking Galactic Senate.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, even within those movies, there were undertones, and there were themes that were related to the current administration in the United States.
Yeah, you remember when you remember when fucking W was president?
Yeah, like, it was.
I mean, what do you think the fucking Clone Wars and the armies and all that shit was about?
Yeah, I mean, come on, people. Let's not be blind to history just because you didn't like.
The only problem was that they were all acted like fucking caricatures of real actors, and they're like, bop, bop, bop.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we're Jedi. We're smarter than this.
Oh my god, yeah, that line was
fucking kidding me?
Real
How
bad.
The fuck did we get on these fucking prequels?
All right, well, I think
I'm gonna talk about triggers. Jesus, man, I'm like ready to punch out my monitor right now.
Yeah.
How the fuck can anyone say that any of the 3 prequels, were better than The Last Jedi for whatever issues you want to contend in The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I mean,
and I let Nick throw out his issues, and I'm like, hey man, whatever you want. And I still think he's wrong, but hey, he's at least not nuts.
Yeah, I mean, purely based on quality filmmaking alone, they're better than the prequels.
Fuck out of here!
Like, come on, let's be realistic. You can have your
every time we
get
a new Skywalker movie, I make myself watch every Star Wars film, and without fail, 1 through 3, I cannot get through without either falling asleep or wanting to slit my wrist.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. It's not the same kind of experience when you're watching the prequels, especially as like.
And here's a very unpopular
fan.
opinion, and I've said it 1,000 times: Phantom Menace is the best prequel. It's the lowest rated. It's the most hated. It is the best. Because it's literally about a 10-year-old kid, so you can get away with 10-year-old acting. Right?
Yeah.
B, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan fucking Kenobi. Enough said. Argument over. Attack of the Clones is a disaster. Revenge of the Sith could be the worst because of the fucking crimes against the character of Darth Vader.
I mean,
fuck you.
If you just look at the end of Solo, I mean, Darth Maul was so good that they brought him back. I mean, for people who don't, who didn't keep up with the Clone Wars, Rebels, or anything like that, like, that is a recognizable face that was resurrected specifically for this new arc of stories that the cast-ins were telling with Solo. So, I mean, like I said,
and anyone that's like, Darth Maul, why is he in that movie? You know what? You're not a Star Wars fan, and that's okay.
I mean, that's what
Don't try to act like one, and don't try to just fucking destroy it.
That's what I was trying to tell.
I mean, if
my
you
friends.
are a fucking Star Wars fan, you would know that reference makes complete sense, and to shut the fuck up and appreciate that you just got a great character reintroduced into live action canon.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fucking treat, and
I even had to fucking berate Nick into watching these goddamn shows, and he finally came around.
Yeah, man. I mean, they were, like you said, they're the best stories that are told in that era.
But that's my point. That was the damage the prequels did to motherfuckers. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta understand that. I guarantee you there's a big part of you didn't want to watch those fucking cartoons because you're like, A, they're cartoons, and B, it's the fucking prequel.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a prequel era. Like, what else do I gotta learn from this fucking disaster?
That was my main kind of, reservation, was it being in the prequel era.
You wanted to distance yourself. Dude, I was the same way. I've said it before. Like, I was questioning my fandom after the 2005. I was like, what in the fuck happened? The expectations I had were so high and so destroyed. And, like, so I do get some of that part with, like, people with Last Jedi and expectations and kind of wanting to hate the movie, but I just feel like my argument's stronger than there was women or this, that, or the other thing. If you honestly look at the prequels, they're just bad.
Poorly acted, poorly written.
Horrible. I mean, the script is so juvenile, which in turn made the acting pathetic.
Yeah, I mean,
there's future Oscar winners in this cast, and they look like chumps.
Yeah, that's the thing that's hardest to wrap your head around, is like, you watch Natalie Portman's performance in these movies, and some people say, oh, she was still a kid, but like, this girl literally wins an Oscar less than 10 years after she finishes up with that trilogy.
Dude, it might have been a year or two. I mean, I think Black Swan at this point was what, 06, 7, 8 at the latest?
Yeah, let me check, because it was a pretty quick, I think you're right, it was a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, that was 2010, so 5 years after episode 3, after
but I mean, she really wasn't a kid. I mean, I think she was like maybe 14, 15 for Phantom, so she would have been 18 and then 21.
Yeah, so, I mean, she was a fully formed actress, and this girl...
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Natalie Portman had done huge movies before that. I mean, she was in... that Luc Besson movie. What the fuck is it?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, whatever.
I can't think of it.
Anyways, she was in a lot of movies.
Yeah, she's got a massive fucking filmography. Let me see. Natalie Portman's filmography. Here we are. I mean...
Yeah,
pre-episode 1, you have Mars Attacks, Everyone Says, I Love You, Beautiful Girls, Heat, Leon the Professional, which is like...
There you go.
That was her first...
The Professional is what I meant. I mean, she was like the main character at 10.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't think she won an award for that, but I mean, like, that's what really, like, she showed her acting chops there. I mean, it was a fantastic film.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, she wasn't just like, oh, the random kid actor in the background. She was literally the lead with Homeboy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, All right, I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, what are we even talking about? Yeah, so we were speculating on what could happen in future Solo films if we get them, and we hope we do get them. I mean, we've talked about they're either gonna be legitimately Solo 2 and 3, or now after this kind of unexpected reception for Solo, maybe it's Solo, another standalone with Solo, and then Solo.
Yeah, maybe we get Boba
and we
Fett.
kind of speculated what we would see Han and Chewie up to in the next Solo, and I really think that is building his rep as a scoundrel, mostly through doing jobs for Jabba. I mean, again, if you watch the special editions, which I don't think you can escape at this point, even Jabba basically says, like, dude, you were my boy. Like, you were the fucking man. Why'd you ditch that shit? Why are you making me fuck with you? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking do the right thing and pay me. I mean, we were dudes. I mean, this is kind of cool to think about. He was essentially talking to Han like Dryden was talking to Beckett after Beckett failed.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, Ron or, Larry and John kind of took some kind of inspiration from that added scene in A New Hope, where there is that casual
I just thought about that right
conversation.
now. I mean, it's like exactly the exact same conversation. It was like essentially like, dude, you fucked up, but I respect you enough based on your past work you've done for me, so here's your last chance.
Yeah, and we see how it plays out for Beckett, and then, we kind of see how it plays out for Han too, but it's just... we're in the same situation where
Sad
we
thing
need to
is,
see how
Han,
it gets there.
Han literally was gonna pay him,
Yeah,
but then his heart kicked in again.
yeah, he got his money.
Just like Kier warned him, like,
You're
as
a
much
good
as you want to
guy.
pretend that you're this fucking badass smuggler scoundrel, that fucking heart of yours is always gonna betray you.
Yeah, I mean, it's true
Because he
down
had his
to
money.
death.
I mean, he had his Leia money. He had it.
Yeah, he had all the cash he had from getting.
But then he got wrapped up in the Rebel Alliance and just ignored it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, you see it all the way to his death, where he walks out on the platform to confront his son. I mean, like, he didn't have to do that, but he had it in his heart that he could try to pull this kid back, and ultimately it led to his death. But I mean,
As much as Han always wanted to come off as the brazen, hard-nosed, scoundrel, tough guy, he could have been the biggest pussy of them all in terms of just a sucker with his heart.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
what,
even more so than Luke.
Yeah, I mean, because
And definitely more so than Leia. I mean, let's be real. Leia's the biggest hard ass out of any of them.
Yeah, I mean, Leia
Leia don't fuck around.
Leia moves on from Han about as quickly as anybody could. She jumps right back into the hot seat with the Resistance, and then starts to push forward. And
That's what I mean. I mean,
protect the
she's
galaxy.
been a woman on a mission since
She was
childhood.
Yeah, but I say since she was a child, when she was in the what was it, like the teenage, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but when she was doing like governmental stuff at a young age on Alderaan, I mean, like, she had always been the one that's kind of standing.
Well, she was
up
she was
for
like her
people.
mom. I mean, she was in essentially 4-H for senators.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. But yeah, man, I mean, Han is unfortunately one of the least explored characters from the original trilogy, and now we finally have the ability to explore his backstory, and it's
And people hate it.
and people hate it for no reason.
They hate it based on other people's hate, based on probably unfounded hate from something.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking ridiculous. But like we said, people, if you listen to this podcast and you're still on the fence about Solo, my review's up on entertainmentbuddha.com. I gave it an 8.4 out of 10. Really solid. I loved it. As you could hear us talking this whole time, it's definitely worth a viewing, probably 2, maybe even more. So go check it out.
I'm doing 3, that's for sure. I'm going to do my damnedest to add money to its coffer. But, all right, in terms of where things can go, we already kind of talked about Han. So I think another character that clearly has plans for future Solo movies, if we get them, and please let us get at least one. Please, 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 please. Is obviously Kira.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the best played role in the entire film because you watch it and you're assuming that she's just this meek person that's going to hang on to Han and hope he makes it out and gets out with him, but really she's playing the underhand the whole time to take over this crime syndicate, and she looks like she is ready to do some dark shit with Darth Maul.
But in the end, do you not feel like Han still had a great power over her?
He definitely held sway.
Not in terms of like commanding, but in terms of she truly did love him.
Yeah, there's definitely feelings there still. Maybe not as much as when they were teens on Corellia.
Even as she's bouncing,
she's
looks
down.
Looking very longly at him, like, man.
Yeah, and dude, I have to tell you, the end of that movie where he says to meet me on Dathomir, I am so if this second film does happen, I am so looking forward to seeing the planet of Dathomir on a big screen in like live action.
Well, yeah, because it's very Mustafar-like, but way less lava and just more orange tint hue.
You have the orange tint, and then you also, this could possibly even bring in factions like the Night Sisters. Yeah, these people play a significant role.
Because I believe at this point,
Wars.
I can't remember.
Talzine's probably captured.
Yeah, I think she gets wasted, honestly.
Yeah, because at the end of Clone Wars, there's a fight.
No,
she doesn't get killed, I don't think.
No, because I'm like I said, I'm right at season 5, and at the end of season 4 is when Savage finds Maul and takes him back to Dathomir, and Talzine puts his legs on.
Yeah, but at the end of season 6 is when they're doing a ritual. That's when it's Jar Jar's girlfriend is like a senator to this planet she's getting, and that's when they find out that the Night Sisters are draining the living force from these people that are living on this planet to try to do a ritual to imbue or to raise somebody. It's either raise somebody or imbue Talzine with more power, and then
probably raise because that's what they're known for.
And then Mace and Jar Jar fuck it up, and Mace fights Talzine.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't think he kills her. I can't.
Well, yeah, because at that point, I can't even remember where Asajj is at in this point. I don't know if she's dead or rogue or.
Asajj is rogue at the point where Mace and Jar Jar go after Talzine and the Night Sisters.
So yeah, we never know her fate, so they could technically fold her back into live action.
Yeah,
if they wanted to.
There's a fate for Asajj in the novels, in the more recent novels, in Dark Disciple. If you read that, they kind of wrap up her storyline.
Are they canon novels?
Yeah,
or are they legends?
No, Dark Disciple is one of the ones that's been printed since the acquisition, so it's a canon novel.
What do you know the time setting in that?
It's post. It's definitely post episode 2, but it's pre episode 3 because it's her and Quinlan Voss hook up.
And yeah, well then she's toast too then, so she's gone.
Yeah, so she ends up dying, but I think it's late enough in the time frame. Well, no, because at that point, we're already within the Imperial era.
For a solo movie, we're
gone.
talking at this point 7 years prior to A New Hope, or the Battle of if we're talking Jesus timeline, BBY.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's legitimately how time's measured in Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
You have how many years BBY, and we're at 7 BBY right now.
Yeah. So you could still do Night Sisters, and then you could also still do the faction of the male. They weren't. I don't think they were.
Yeah, there could be more Zabrak males there, and you could have some of the Night Sisters, but honestly, I believe by end of season 4, most of them are wiped out by Grievous and the Separatists.
Yeah. So, it would be interesting to see.
I know Doc is dead.
Doc is dead. Then you have Ventress is dead. Talzine's dead or captured.
Well, yeah, either way, it's going to be Dathomir, and it's going to be Maul in the flesh.
Yeah.
Why? Who wouldn't want to see that?
Yeah, and just to see what kind of syndicate that he's built up. I really think
and even don't you think eventually that I guarantee that the story eventually pits Han versus Kira?
It has to. That's got to be the thing that really breaks him, I think, is that ultimate showdown.
Right. He probably ends up killing her.
I would imagine so. I mean, because
again, she's second in command in one of the biggest crime syndicates in the galaxy.
Yeah, and of course,
like someone that Jabba probably directly goes up against, honestly, at that point in time.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think that, Han has kind of built up a reputation enough to where even Maul might want him dead. So, and then, that's kind of what the Crimson Dawn is focusing on. Yeah,
it's the other thing. Like, people, if you haven't watched the Clone Wars, Maul is not a mentally stable person at this point in time. Like, he's not the dedicated, focused apprentice that you knew from Phantom Menace. Like, he's literally nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he lived for years
in a trash
dump.
Yeah.
As essentially a half Zabrak male robotic spider freak.
Yeah.
And all he is focused on is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason he's still alive. It's kept him alive, his hate for Obi, and that literally drives every action he does throughout the Clone Wars, and hopefully, as we will get if it ever gets made, what he's been doing as the leader of Crimson Dawn.
Yeah. Do you think if we
don't get Obi-Wan Kenobi mentions, they're setting it all up, even if they do the standalone Obi now. I mean, fucking shit. Just think about it.
Yeah.
What they've set up now, the pieces they put on the board with Solo are insane to think about, especially if we're going to get standalone Kenobi. And you motherfuckers could be fucking it all up by not going to see Solo just because you don't want to see it and you want to see Disney fail.
Yeah, I mean,
fuck you.
If you think about how all these characters are weaved together, there's the obvious connection between Han Solo and Boba Fett, and now you have this tenuous connection between Han Solo and Maul with Kira and then the Crimson Dawn. And now you have
connection between Maul and Kenobi.
I'm
not saying they even have to have a scene together. I kind of don't want it because that's resolved in Rebels.
Yeah.
But even if we just get a glimpse behind the Maul that was portrayed in the cartoons, I mean, his only fucking goal in life, ultimately, in the end, with all the shit he accomplishes after we thought he was dead, it was still to get revenge on Kenobi.
Yeah, it was to get back at Obi-Wan.
All he cared about. All he cared about. It drove him mad. I mean, it drove him even more mad than he already was.
Yeah, just seeing his reintroduction, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, seeing his reintroduction into the universe was fucking crazy. I mean, like you said, he was living in a trash heap. He had spider legs.
Like, he was literally insane. Like, he was fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah, and he was saved by his brother. I mean, at the time.
The dark side and his hatred for Obi kept him alive, and then Savage found him. But rest is history.
Yep.
But even in the end, I mean, Obi-Wan explains it. He's like, I mean, Maul died because of his focused hate on Obi-Wan. He never spent time trying to better himself as a fighter, to learn different techniques, where Obi-Wan learned everything. And as soon as Obi-Wan pulled the Qui-Gon stance on Maul, and he saw that Maul was going to do the same move that killed Qui-Gon, he immediately switched to his own stance and was like, whatever.
Yeah, done.
It wasn't even a fucking job. I mean, Obi-Wan hardly even moved.
Yeah, I remember the lead up to that episode of Rebels. Like, everybody was awaiting this showdown, and it ends up being, like you said, this, 10-second.
But I liked it that it was like that, because it showed, like, how frail Maul truly was, like, how broken he was.
Yeah.
Based on letting the dark side and his hate consume him.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it was a point. It was like, listen, yeah, the dark side can make you strong as fuck, but it can also destroy you.
Yeah, I think that, to deprive the Star Wars fans of this character, this new version of Maul that we've never seen before on screen, that would be just terrible.
I want to see that more than just where Solo goes, and I'm super jacked about Solo at this point, and I wasn't a huge Han guy. I mean, yeah, I love Han, but I was like, whatever, he's Han. He's third wheel. I mean, to me, Han was third wheel at best. He might have been fourth wheel, honestly. I'm kind of a Chewbacca guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely behind Leia and Luke. I mean, people love him because of his attitude, his swagger, his personality.
He has
like that.
He has some great moments. I mean, clearly his moment in A New Hope is arguably the best.
Yeah, the most heroic moment in the whole trilogy. I mean, possibly
because we know Luke cheats with the fucking proton bombs. I mean, he uses the Force, so I mean that's nothing special.
Freebie.
I mean, what Han did was pretty slick.
Yeah.
But he was never, I don't know, he's just someone who's like, hey, yeah, it's fucking Han. Whatever. I mean, I don't really care about his backstory. Like, he's just cool. Like, you just know he's a fucking swag-ass motherfucker.
Yeah, and we get to see that now. And, I mean, I think, again, I think...
And after hating on the notion of the movie and seeing it, I now love it and I want to see more. And it just bums me out that this movie is suffering, honestly, for the wrong reasons. I mean, if it was trash, I would tell you. I have no problem shitting on Star Wars movies, clearly. And I'm not just a prequel hater. I think the special editions are fucking hot garbage, too. And to me, they're probably more offensive than the prequels. Because you took something that was magic and ruined it.
Yeah, you really kind of shit on it, especially at the end of episode 6. I mean,
and then made it to where no one can even get the legitimate versions anymore.
Yeah, I mean there are people that have not seen the true versions of Star Wars.
I mean, millions of people do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole generation of Star Wars fans that don't know what the real movies are.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane because those special editions are hot garbage. I can deal with the shit in A New Hope. There's hardly anything in Empire, but what they did to 6 it's a goddamn travesty.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to experience as a Star Wars fan.
No, it's a disgrace from start to finish. I mean, Jabba's palace is butchered, and don't even get me started on the fucking final duel. I mean, Jesus. I mean, you want to talk about almost ruining someone's childhood. I mean, hearing him say fucking no. I mean, Jesus. That's ruining childhoods, not The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Unforgivable stuff that was done by Lucas there. Again, just getting too cutesy with
to fuck with it. I mean, literally just to fuck with it. Like, he just couldn't let it go.
Yeah. All right, I think we kind of hit the big points that we wanted to make.
Yeah,
today.
I mean,
there was no news. I mean, you know, we're still in Solo mode. It's only the first.
Yeah, the only news was that Solo didn't do well. I mean, that was the news, and we covered that extensively, and it's kind of a bummer, but in the end, we've dedicated 2 podcasts to Solo. I've seen it twice. Good chance by the time we talk again, I'll have seen it thrice. I know Nick will see it at least one more time, and there's a good chance he might be a 3-banger too. It's good. And again, we're not sitting here blowing smoke up your ass. You know, Nick is in the TLJ meh category, so he's not a homer. I'm not a homer. I just tend to like more things than Nick when it's come to Star Wars. At this point, I just think it's PTSD for the prequels, where I'm like, if I can get through this without wanting to vomit, then it's good.
Yeah, then it's a solid
like
Star Wars.
If the acting doesn't make me roll my eyes and just want to stab them out with my thumbs, then I'm cool. I'll take it.
I agree with that 100%.
All right, people, it's been real. You know what to do. Make sure to tune yourselves in to the best podcast for Star Wars fans and pop culture geeks. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, RSS feeds. You can get it through your email if you want. You can get it through Google Play. You can get it straight up just through Android. Hit us up. Subscribe. We love you. Keep listening. Until next time, may the Force be with you.